In the hospital room, the first thing I saw upon opening my eyes was a stunningly beautiful woman crying her heart out, accusing a handsome man.
Why did you lie to me? Why did you use me? Why did you use my blood to save her?
The man remained silent, his expression cold. I looked at them in confusion, feeling that the scene and dialogue seemed oddly familiar.
To marry you, I cut ties with my father, handed over all my assets to you, and even left the business world to stay at home. And all these years, you've been deceiving me?
Tears glistened in her eyes, threatening to fall, and her delicate face showed an undeniable sadness. The redness at the corners of her eyes made her look so pitiful that even I felt the urge to comfort her.
Um,
As an outsider to the situation, I was about to ask a question when the beauty, who had been on the verge of tears, suddenly shot me a fierce look.
Shut up. You've been in a coma for 5 years, and now that you're awake, you want to take everything from me? These 5 years, it was me who stayed by Ethan's side, not you, Emily.
Emily? Ethan? Aren't these the names of the ill-fated characters from that tragic novel I read? So, the beauty in front of me must be the heroine I felt so sorry for, Sophia?
Sophia, why are you so angry?
The only man in the room finally spoke. He stood in front of me, glaring at Sophia with a dark expression.
If it weren't for Emily risking her life to save me in that car accident 5 years ago, would I still be standing here? Don't forget, you were the one who abandoned me first. It was your father who said that the Johnson family wasn't worthy. During my lowest point, the only person who stayed by my side was Emily.
Nonsense. She stayed with you for your wealth. Emily wasn't that good. She had plenty of bad intentions. Sophia remained silent for a while, then looked at Ethan again, a tear falling from her pale face.
So, this is how you see me.
Her voice carried a sting of disappointment. Ethan seemed to be at a loss for words, standing there speechless. Seeing his silence, Sophia let out a bitter laugh and left the room, not looking back. Ethan watched her leave, his arms hanging naturally at his sides, and I saw his fists gradually clenching. He wanted to chase after her, but he didn't deserve to. I rubbed my temples, feeling quite troubled. In short, I had now transmigrated into the character I disliked the most. Who would want to be the white moonlight in Ethan's heart?
Emily.
He turned to me, looking at me with deep affection, his voice hoarse.
Do you blame me for marrying Sophia without waiting for you?
Blame? When I read the novel, I cursed you to no end.
Why, aren't you saying anything? Are you angry?
I blinked. So Ethan was genuinely foolish, not just pretending. The car accident 5 years ago wasn't an accident at all. It was orchestrated by Emily herself, with the aim of making the male lead fall. Ethan had been visiting frequently these past few days, driving Emily to the brink of madness. If only Sophia were the one visiting, even if just to give her a hard time, she would welcome it.
Emily, I know you're feeling uneasy, but I promise you, I'll sort things out with her as soon as possible, okay?
Her? My dear protagonist?
Where's Sophia?
Emily's concern was for her beloved protagonist, but Ethan misunderstood.
Don't worry, I won't let her disrupt our lives anymore. Once you're discharged, I'll take you home, and we'll have the grandest wedding. I'll proudly introduce you to everyone, all right?
His smile was tender and gentle, but this tactic didn't work on Emily. No matter how handsome he was nothing but a scoundrel in her eyes. She knew he had tormented Sophia and had forced her into a difficult situation. Maybe her emotions were too intense, and she couldn't hide them on her face. Ethan sighed softly.
Emily, don't be angry or sad. I love you.
With that, he unexpectedly leaned down and kissed her forehead. My forehead is dirty now. Like a startled bird, she shot up and scrambled back on the bed in horror. Seeing her reaction, Ethan's smile faded, and his expression grew complex.
Emily, you.
Realizing she was now Emily, she quickly forced a laugh to smooth things over.
Ah, haha, Ethan, it's been so long since you kissed me. I was just too excited.
Ethan was taken aback for a moment, then chuckled softly. He reached out and patted her head, pulling her into his embrace. She felt like her life was over, being forced to lie in his arms.
From now on, I'll give you a kiss every morning and night to make up for the past 5 years, okay?
What kind of torture is this? What did I do to deserve such punishment? She buried her face in his chest, hiding her twisted expression of disgust.
What, feeling shy?
At that moment, she suppressed the overwhelming discomfort and refrained from cursing him out. Damn it, I didn't wrong anyone, so why am I suffering this misfortune? After enduring an entire afternoon with a stiff smile, Ethan finally left. In the following days, he didn't visit her. He was dealing with Sophia's situation. Feeling like she was on pins and needles, Emily made a decision.
I have to do what a true fan should do. I have to save her. This time, with me here, I won't allow her to meet such a tragic and pitiful end again.
On the day of Sophia's discharge from the hospital, she looked noticeably more worn out and had lost some weight, but she was still stunningly beautiful.
What are you doing here?
Ethan's tone toward Sophia was icy.
Does this guy even know how to talk to a beautiful woman? Does he really think he's some kind of aloof heartthrob?
Turning to Sophia with a bright smile.
What brings you here?
Sophia glanced at Emily, her eyes filled with cold indifference.
Emily, you don't need to be so pleased with yourself.
Emily was taken aback.
Huh?
She wasn't being smug at all. Before I had a chance to explain, Ethan immediately shielded me behind him, his tone unfriendly.
Don't you dare bring your temper in front of Emily. She has never done anything to hurt you. It's me who doesn't love you anymore.
These words were like countless needles, gradually shattering the resilience Sophia had been holding on to. Her beautiful eyes began to glisten with tears, but her innate pride forced her to swallow the grievance, lifting her face to look at us.
I can't just hand him over. I won't easily give you up to someone else.
With that, she turned and left without waiting for Ethan's response. I watched her retreating figure deeply, recalling her character in the novel. Later in the story, Sophia's leg was injured, and her father, in critical condition, was deliberately angered to death by Ethan. Sophia, once a wealthy and isolated heiress, became Ethan's prisoner. Slaps, beatings, humiliation, and forcing her to bear a child for Emily. Even then, she retained her pride, refusing to yield, willing to harm herself rather than submit. So, to please Emily, Ethan drugged Sophia, forcing her into pregnancy. Later, because Emily said she didn't want the child, Ethan unhesitatingly terminated the pregnancy. Thus, the once radiant and dazzling heroine in my eyes was destroyed step by step. At that time, I thought if I could enter the book, the first thing I would do is eliminate Ethan.
Emily, what are you thinking about?
I didn't hide the murderous look in my eyes, which startled him. His gaze wavered for a moment, misunderstanding my expression.
I won't let her talk to you like that again. I am yours, willingly yours.
Looking at his face, I cursed inwardly. Not in the mood to act, I pushed his hand away and said coldly,
Aren't we going home?
He stood there, somewhat at a loss.
Yes, but Emily, you didn't have breakfast this morning. How about we first?
No need, I need to rest.
I had no appetite to eat with him.
All right, whatever you say, Emily.
Without saying more, Ethan. Sophia still hadn't given up on Ethan.
But ma'am, Miss Sophia said if you want a separation, you'll have to leave with nothing. After all, the one who was unfaithful is.
The assistant trailed off, not daring to continue.
Leave with nothing? She's dreaming.
I stood on the second floor, taking in the entire scene, pondering something in my heart. In the blink of an eye, we were at a cafe. The place was empty. Ethan had rented out the entire shop. Sophia stormed in, slamming her expensive designer bag onto the table.
What do you two want from me?
She glanced at Ethan first, hiding a trace of sadness, then turned her cold gaze towards me. Before Ethan could speak, I wrapped my arm around his and leaned into him.
You refuse to accept a separation and keep clinging to Ethan. What exactly do you want?
I deliberately gave her a provoking smile. Sophia's eyes darkened.
Emily, you know very well who the intruder is.
Oh dear. Ethan and I have known each other since our school days. If it weren't for my studying abroad and his mother's interference, we would have been engaged long ago. You wouldn't even have had a chance.
Anger flared in Sophia's eyes. Isn't that enough? Since it isn't, I had to be even more ruthless. I leaned closer to her, lowered my voice, and said smugly,
You should know how much he loves me. After all, he hasn't even wanted to be close to you in these 5 years. That shows how much he despises you.
slap. The long-awaited slap finally landed on my face.
Sophia, are you crazy?
Ethan quickly shielded me in his arms and without a word, slapped Sophia back.
Who gave you the guts to hit Emily?
Ouch, go easy on her, don't hurt her too much. Sophia clutched her reddened cheek, staring at Ethan in disbelief. Instinctively, I tried to push Ethan away, but he thought I was scared and held me even tighter.
Sophia, what right do you have to call Emily an intruder? If it weren't for the arranged marriage, I wouldn't even look at you. Don't overestimate yourself.
His words were like daggers, piercing Sophia's heart repeatedly, and I could see the pain in her eyes. After a long while, Sophia finally looked away. She took a deep breath and left, devastated. That night, she signed the papers, but her heartbroken gaze lingered. Ethan held Emily tightly, his voice gentle and loving.
Let's get married. Half of the Ethan family's empire will be yours. No one will ever disturb our lives again.
Emily felt a wave of skepticism wash over her. These words felt hollow to her, mere figments of empty promises. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. They both glanced at the screen, and the name John was clearly displayed.
Wait, John? I remember.
According to the plot, after the divorce, Ethan feared Sophia would reveal his involvement with Emily. He planned to silence her by orchestrating a car accident, with John as the driver. Ethan stepped out onto the balcony, phone in hand, a sinister smile slowly spreading across his face.
Damn it.
Without hesitation, Emily bolted out the door, ignoring Ethan's calls behind her. She raced towards the courthouse, her memory guiding her. By the time she arrived, she was breathless and barely able to stand, having run harder than ever before. Looking up, she saw Sophia in a white coat, exiting the courthouse. Sophia was shaking hands with a foreigner, but turned and unexpectedly saw Emily. Her previously smiling eyes turned cold and hostile.
What are you doing here?
Sophia intended to ignore Emily and walk away, but Emily quickly stood up and grabbed her hand.
Listen to me, someone wants to harm you.
Sophia sneered and forcefully shook off Emily's hand, glaring with disdain.
What, have you learned to shed crocodile tears? Don't you wish I were gone?
I'm telling the truth, it's as real as gold.
Emily, I've already divorced him. What more do you want from me? If you push me any further, I won't let you off easily.
With that, Sophia shot Emily a glare and tried to get into her car. Emily stumbled but resolutely blocked her way.
What do you want?
Someone really wants to harm you. His name is John. I know the inside story.
Emily hoped her honesty would make Sophia believe her, but Sophia only laughed disdainfully.
Are you scared? You orchestrated the car accident 5 years ago. Are you afraid I'll tell Ethan?
No. You've got it wrong. I never took what happened 5 years ago seriously. I even regret it, I was in a coma for 5 years.
Emily's desperation was palpable. Why was the protagonist so off track?
Enough, stop talking. Move.
Sophia was unwilling to listen any further.
I'm not moving.
Emily, do you want me to call for help?
Seeing her stance and the bodyguards in black suits getting out of the nearby cars, Emily gritted her teeth.
The person who wants to harm you is Ethan. He's afraid you'll expose our involvement and ruin his reputation, so he wants to eliminate you.
Sophia stared at Emily suspiciously, trying to decipher her motives.
To make me give up on Ethan completely, you really can say anything.
My dear lady, can't you just be beautiful on your own? Do you think Ethan loves me? He only sees me as non-threatening, while you, Sophia, are the daughter of the Johnson family. If you wanted to retaliate against him, you could easily bring down the entire Ethan family.
A look of hesitation flashed across Sophia's face, but she quickly dismissed Emily's words.
Emily, save your tricks. I will never listen to your deceit.
She waved her hand, and the Johnson family's bodyguards pulled Emily away.
Let go of me. Sophia, why don't you believe me? Even if I'm the third party, I've been lying in a hospital bed for 5 years. How could I have such hostility towards you? Shouldn't the one truly wary of you be Ethan?
Sophia paused for a moment, then resolutely got into the car. No matter how much Emily struggled, tried to stop her, or explained, she didn't look back once.
What should I do? Can I not change the plot?
Thinking about the heroine's future ordeal, Emily's heart ached fiercely. Out of nowhere, she found the strength to kick the bodyguard restraining her. The bodyguard bent over in pain and had to let go. Seizing the opportunity, Emily recklessly rushed in front of Sophia's car, spreading her arms to block the path. Sophia hadn't anticipated this and didn't have time to brake.
Bang!
With a loud crash, Emily fell heavily to the ground, her blurred vision catching Sophia's shocked expression.
Emily.
She hurriedly got out of the car, calling Emily's name and dialing for emergency help. Amidst the pain, Emily experienced ringing in her ears, a metallic taste in her throat, and numbness in her body.
I really got hit.
Lying on the ground, Emily's eyes fluttered open and closed from the pain. She inadvertently noticed a truck moving strangely from behind Sophia. Its direction was
Soft.
She struggled to lift her hand to warn Sophia, but her body couldn't hold on, and she blacked out. The smell of disinfectant filled Emily's nose, and everything around her was a blinding white. A blurry figure appeared in her vision. She thought it was a doctor, but it turned out to be the infuriating Ethan.
Emily, you're awake.
He sat by her bedside, gently brushing the hair from her forehead. Emily immediately closed her eyes again.
The doctor said it's fortunate the car was moving slowly. Your bones aren't broken, but you bit your tongue when you fell. Don't worry. I won't let Sophia off easily this time.
Emily quickly opened her eyes to try to explain, but the pain in her tongue was too intense, so she gave up. Ethan kissed her lightly and left the room. As soon as the door closed, Emily painfully raised her hand to wipe her forehead vigorously. Just then, she heard an argument outside.
You wicked woman.
Say what you want. I'll pay double for her medical expenses and compensation. You better keep a close eye on your fiancé.
I'm watching her very well. It's you whose jealousy has driven you to want to harm her.
Ethan. If my car hadn't blocked the truck, Emily would be dead. Instead of taking it out on me, why don't you ask the truck driver what his intentions were with that change in direction?
These days, Ethan had started staying by Emily's bedside again, making it hard for her to sleep comfortably. It was driving her crazy.
This is unbearable.
One night, as usual, Emily couldn't sleep and pretended to have her eyes closed. She heard Ethan take a call at the door.
John, your work has been terribly disappointing.
Emily couldn't hear the response from the other side, but then Ethan spoke again.
So what if Emily is lying there? What are you worried about? Just push through and get rid of Sophia once and for all. Emily's sacrifice would be worth it. But your hesitation this time has left me unable to protect you.
What the heck? This scoundrel wants to get rid of me, too? And he was just talking about marrying me a moment ago? No way, Emily thought. She needed to recover and get out of there as soon as possible and gather evidence of Ethan's crimes. When Ethan finished his call and came back, he closed the door a bit loudly, so Emily took the chance to pretend she had woken up.
Sorry, didn't realize how hard I closed the door.
Where did you go just now?
I was getting a bit tired watching over you and didn't want to fall asleep, so I went out to wash my face. After all, if I fall asleep, who will take care of you?
Pretending to be so affectionate. Where was this care during the 5 years Emily was in a coma? Though she thought this, Emily still smiled at him.
Does your tongue still hurt?
Much better.
Ethan nodded, looking a bit hesitant.
What's wrong?
Today. Why did you go to see Sophia?
His question made Emily catch her breath. Staring into his probing eyes, her mind raced. Quickly, she forced out 2 lines of tears.
I was just so scared. I'd been in a vegetative state for 5 years, and when I woke up, I took her place. I wanted her to forgive me and really give you to me. My love for you is no less than hers, Ethan. I'm so afraid she'll come back.
These words made the suspicion in Ethan's eyes vanish. He tenderly held her hand.
Emily, you have my love. You don't need to humble yourself for anyone.
But I'm scared. I have no support, no background. She's the daughter of the Johnson family. With a wave of her hand, I could disappear without a trace.
Emily, you don't need to be afraid. You have me. In the future, my company will be your company, and I will be yours. No one will harm you, and you can stand on equal footing with her.
Playing along with his affection, Emily smiled through her tears. Ethan gently wiped away her tears with his thumb, then lowered his head to kiss her lips, even biting lightly. Scoundrel! Emily was furious, almost seeing red. If she hadn't clenched her fists tightly, she might have punched him right then. After the kiss, he looked at her indulgently.
Still feeling wronged?
Her mouth twitched, and she shook her head with hatred. He didn't notice her emotions, chuckling softly as he stroked. The first thing Emily did after being discharged was to call Sophia. She had spent several nights secretly obtaining her number from Ethan's contact list, overcoming numerous obstacles in the process.
Hello?
Her sweet voice instantly lifted Emily's spirits.
It's me, Emily.
There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line.
Hello? Can you hear me?
What do you want this time?
Her tone was a bit haughty, but Emily didn't mind. She got straight to the point.
Is the truck driver named John?
Sophia paused, then responded with a simple yes.
Do you believe me now?
Sophia hesitated for a moment before asking.
Why are you doing this? Weren't you eager to marry Ethan? Didn't you end up in that accident and stay in a coma for 5 years just for his love? I don't understand.
Because Emily was not really Emily. As for the real reason, she didn't tell Sophia directly. Instead, she answered indirectly.
Ethan still wants to pursue you. If you want to rid yourself of this trouble, take action. Save yourself, and you'll be saving me too.
Sophia took a deep breath.
I don't want to dwell on the past. I don't want to see any of you now.
Do you think Ethan will stop?
Sophia remained silent.
What if I told you that your father's condition was caused by Ethan? would you believe me?
What are you saying?
Emily ignored her shock and calmly recounted the past.
Ethan negotiated with your father, wanting to marry you. Your father, being perceptive, saw through him and refused. Enraged, Ethan pushed your father from the second floor, causing his condition.
Sophia was stunned, incredulous.
How do you know?
When you went to the hospital, your father couldn't speak anymore. You naively thought Ethan had saved him in time. Later, you believed Ethan's words, thinking your father was stubbornly against your relationship. So you married Ethan without your father's consent, which led to your father cutting off contact with you. Little did you know, you were the one kept in the dark all these years.
This was the core of the story, and what Emily wanted to reveal to Sophia.
No. I don't believe it. You were in the hospital that year. How could you possibly know?
Her voice began to choke, evoking sympathy. Emily knew she already believed it but couldn't forgive herself or face the truth.
In the second room on the second floor of your house, there's a photo of you doing ballet as a child. In the storage room on the third floor, there's a broken piano, a gift from your father when you were little. It meant a lot to you, and you never had the heart to throw it away.
Emily remembered these details from the story clearly. After she finished, Sophia fell completely silent.
Why?
Since the question had come this far, Emily couldn't exactly say she had an omniscient perspective. So, she told a lie.
Sophia, how can you be sure I was in a coma for those 5 years?
Sophia's slender fingers rhythmically tapped on the table, her long lashes concealing the emotions in her eyes.
You have no evidence.
I smiled at her words and took a sip of my coffee.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't have evidence.
She looked at me suspiciously.
You even have evidence?
Of course.
I smiled, then stared directly at her flawless face.
There's a gap on the 7th step of your staircase, and Ethan's ring is stuck in there. This ring was designed exclusively for him by a French designer, there's no other like it in the world. Grace, who used to work as a maid at your house, saw Ethan push your father that day. That's why Ethan sends her money every year. If you want to find her, it should be easier for you than for me.
Sophia stared at me, dumbfounded.
But what if Grace doesn't help me?
I smiled and wrote down an address for her.
This is the address of her secret lover. Grace's current husband is a local tycoon with a significant background. If he finds out about Grace's secret affairs, it would be disastrous.
Sophia looked at the address, staring at me in astonishment.
Who exactly are you? Are you some kind of agent?
I ignored her question and handed her another set of numbers.
Ethan's company is shrouded in a facade, hiding unspeakable darkness inside. You can contact this person. For the right price, he'll tell you everything.
Sophia slowly took the numbers, still finding me unbelievable.
Why are you helping me like this?
I thought for a moment. It's not the right time yet. Saying more would be pointless.
Just do as I say. I'll give you the evidence against Ethan's company soon.
Having said all this, I picked up my sunglasses, ready to leave. But then, through the reflection in my sunglasses, I saw Ethan. He seemed to have known I was here all along, walking straight towards us with a frown. Suddenly, my hand holding the sunglasses froze. The next second, Sophia quickly picked up the cold coffee in front of her and splashed it on me.
You shameless homewrecker.
Emily,
Ethan immediately pulled me up and started berating her.
I wondered why I didn't see Emily today. Turns out you found her behind my back. Sophia, are you that relentless?
Seeing him holding me, Sophia couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness, but she quickly regained her composure.
Relentless? If it weren't for the law, I would have ended her already.
Ethan's initial suspicion vanished completely, and he protected me tightly, glaring at Sophia.
Crazy woman, you'd better not have any more ideas about Emily. If I see you near her again, I won't let you off.
With that, he pulled me away without looking back, leaving Sophia alone. Once in the car, he started wiping the coffee off me, looking somewhat agitated.
Ethan, I'm fine.
Ethan glanced at me, his eyes dark.
I found you today because I placed a tracker on you.
What? A tracker? My heart sank. Could he know something? Emily felt fear in her heart but maintained a calm exterior.
Is it for my safety?
Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he stared at her for a long time.
It seems you really care about me. I thought I wouldn't find happiness because of Sophia, but now I feel secure. Ethan, thank you for loving me so much.
This is it. Everything depends on this moment. Love conquers all doubts. Just as sweat began to form on her forehead and a chill ran down her spine, he suddenly pulled her into his arms, ignoring the coffee stains on her clothes, and held her tightly.
I'm sorry, I was thinking dark thoughts. I thought you were going to betray me with Sophia.
He buried his face in her shoulder.
The monitor can only track your location, it can't hear your conversations. So, I was testing you, but you truly love me. I was wrong to doubt you, Emily.
Thank goodness, he's not thinking straight. Emily was so relieved. She patted his back and secretly exhaled.
If you can keep monitoring me like this, Ethan, that would be perfect. It shows you care about me.
He chuckled and lightly tapped her forehead.
Emily, why do you like being monitored?
As long as it's you doing the monitoring, I don't mind at all.
That was so disgusting to say. Emily really was saying things that went against her conscience. Ugh. Ethan's eyes sparkled with emotion, and suddenly he pushed her down, flattening the seat. He started undoing his tie and belt in one swift motion.
Ethan.
What's wrong?
Yeah, what's wrong? How should she refuse? Just then, she saw someone walking past the car window, so she pretended to caress his body shyly.
We might be seen. I don't like that.
He glanced outside and then laughed, pressing her down and kissing her for a long time before letting go.
All right, if Emily doesn't like it, I don't like it either.
As he got up and dressed, Emily covered her face, internally screaming in despair.
Don't be shy.
He thought she was embarrassed. Damn it. Emily must make sure this guy ends up in jail and stays there forever. In the following days, Sophia and I kept in touch discreetly. While trying to stabilize Ethan, I also had to protect myself, which was utterly exhausting. Finally, one morning, I saw police officers in uniform entering the company. The long-awaited dawn had arrived. Ethan was imprisoned, and the Ethan family collapsed. I brought a bouquet of flowers and a basket of fruit to visit Sophia's father in the hospital. He was recovering well and smiled kindly.
Thank you for coming. It means a lot to us.
I spent the entire afternoon there, listening to him talk about Sophia's childhood.
Sophia did many silly things as a child. She had her likes and dislikes, and she always had her own thoughts.
As a listener, I didn't feel like Mr. Johnson was reciting lines or following an author's script to tell me a story. To me, they were real. As I was leaving the ward, Mr. Johnson asked me to stay, saying that Sophia would be there soon.
Why don't you stay a bit longer? Sophia will be here soon.
I wanted to stay, but for some reason, a voice inside me told me to leave. Standing on the bustling street, my phone rang inside my coat. It was Sophia.
Dad said you left already. Weren't we supposed to have dinner together tonight?
Looking at the sky, as blue as a painting outside.
Let's skip dinner tonight. It's getting late.
Why? Do you have something urgent to get back to?
The surroundings gradually quieted down, and the bustling street and crowds seemed to fade away visibly.
No, nothing.
She sighed in relief.
Where are you? I'll come pick you up. Dad wants to thank you, and I want to get to know you properly.
I asked without thinking.
Do you want to get to know me, or Emily?
Sophia was taken aback, not understanding what I meant. Her pause made me lower my head and chuckle to myself.
Not agreeing to the engagement with Ethan was the best thing for me because no one in this world knows about Emily's existence.
I know.
Then guess what my name is?
This time, she didn't answer. Standing in the fading world, I called her name, feeling a bit drowsy.
Whether you believe it or not, my appearance was just for you. I once witnessed your entire life, and you, Sophia, became the eternal shining light in my heart.
For me?
Sophia.
I'm here.
I looked up at the sky and sighed deeply, feeling a sense of relief.
In this lifetime, let me clearly see you live a happy life.